Hello, my name is Eve. I like to talk about disturbing books and recommend them to you. Today, I got a suggestion from one of my followers, and I thought it was an interesting concept, just kind of talking about the evolution of my content, what I started reading when I started reviewing versus like what I'm reading now. And what better way to do it than like if you're an OG follower of my TikTok, Eve Reads, one of my first videos was like a get ready with me, and I used to do those all the time because I would do reviews while I was getting ready for work. But I haven't done one in a while, so get ready with me. Well, yeah, I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to hear me because I've never had my mic anywhere else besides like in my hand. So fingers crossed that you guys can fucking hear me. Also, I just dyed my hair black again, and I bleached my eyebrows. A lot of people aren't really liking them, but you know what? It is what it is. I like it. I scrolled back to my first TikTok I ever posted, review wise on Eve Reads, and it was a review of Tender is the Flesh, which I feel like is a lot of people's first book when they get into the genre. However, that wasn't necessarily my first book because the first account I had was Confessions of the Mosses. And they're, I think technically the first book I ever read in this genre, um, with intent of like doing what I do, had to be, I forget if it was Cows, Slob, or Tender is the Flesh. All three of those I probably read back to back to back. Now when I first started doing reviewing and all of that good stuff, I wasn't really focused on extreme horror or splatterpunk. Like I was just basically just reading disturbing content in general, but I was still flirting with a lot of fantasy books like Kingdom of the Damned or something like that. I was reading that book. I was also reading a lot of Holly Black, like Cruel Prince and stuff like that. I never decided to really fully commit to this genre until I started realizing that I wasn't liking anything else besides extreme horror and splatterpunk. And why force myself to read something that I'm really not liking? And when I tell you guys, I was forcing myself to read these books, I was forcing myself. I tried so many times to read Haunting Adeline and A Court of Thorns and Roses and like anything that was getting really popular on TikTok. I just automatically thought like, oh, everyone else loves this, shouldn't I? But that wasn't the case at all. And I remember finding a video of this person, I forget who it was, but they were like, these are the most disturbing books I have ever read in my life. And I bought all of them, as one does, and I read all of them. One of them being The Slob, another one being Cows, and I think the other one was Hog. But even before that, one of my favorite books growing up was Flowers in the Attic. And that should have been a good indicator of the type of shit that I was going to be into when I was older. Because I didn't even know growing up that there was like a whole subgenre of horror. Because, like, when you think of horror books, you just think of Stephen King. And I find Stephen King to be a little boring sometimes. Calm down. Calm down. So after finding this genre, the reason why I started reviewing this in the first place is because I could find so many people to talk about like any other book I was reading, but when it came to this genre, no one wanted to hear it. And so my partner actually suggested, he was like, why don't you just start reviewing them? But even then, I was still flirting around with like a lot of other genres. And once I, like I said, once I discovered that everything else that I was reading just kind of seemed pale in comparison to extreme horror and splatterpunk, that's when I made the switch. And that's when I am where I am now, where I only read extreme horror and splatterpunk. And I feel like my the shift of what I read hasn't changed too much, but I feel like before there were certain things that I refused to read about, like children having things happen to them, but now I have kind of realized that I have no triggers. I thought that was going to be a thing that really bothered me. And now I read whatever, whenever, no triggers, no nothing. Also, before, I feel like I was seeking out books that were just viral on like TikTok. And I quickly realized that a lot of the books that go viral on TikTok, especially in the genre, go viral because it's people who don't normally read the genre and they're giving their reaction to that. And so I remember picking up a few books that were going viral at the time because they were so disturbing and finding out that they, in fact, were not fucking disturbing at all, at least to me, as someone who, you know, reads that genre religiously. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is no. So now I'm very apprehensive about reading things that go viral, and I'd much rather discover them on my own and kind of make that judgment on my own. Because also, with the thing about books going viral is that there is an extreme amount of like hype, and so when it doesn't live up to the hype, it's very disappointing. Like, for instance, hot take here, Playground is not the most disturbing Aaron Beauregard book. Like, when that shit started going viral, I was very happy that it was going viral, but everyone was calling it his most disturbing book when I don't even think it scratches the surface of some of his other works. And so now there's only like a few reviewers that I actually take seriously when it comes to reviewing really disturbing content that's like on my level of disturbing. And there's only a few authors that I've read so far that have really pushed the limits of what I find disturbing. And those are like my auto buy authors. But I get a lot of emails of new horror authors, and they always want me to check out their book, and I always check it out. But I review really disturbing content. That is my thing. That is what I love to do. I love doing it. And so I always tell them, I'm like, hey, I will read your book. I will leave a review on Goodreads, but unless it meets the criteria of what I deem as disturbing, I'm probably not going to review it on my channel unless you have to be this tall to ride the ride. You know what I mean? It may seem a little shitty because like what I deem as disturbing is probably not what a lot of people deem as disturbing, but it's my channel. Well, I'm gonna yap about what I want to yap about, and I'm not gonna sit down and force myself to talk about a book I don't want to talk about or I don't feel passionate about. I feel passionate about really fucked up books, really disturbing books. So that's what I want to talk about. I used to love doing get ready with me videos and just sitting here and yapping about a book. My content has definitely evolved as to I don't really do that anymore, and I also used to not really take notes on any of the books that I was reading, and I'd kind of just do it off memory, and I feel like the reviews weren't nearly as good as they are now, in my opinion. But yeah, that was a little evolution of my content. I'm very curious to see what the next year holds for me, holds for us, especially in the horror community. I hope everyone has a great day. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you want to hear me yap about next. Check out my Instagram and have a good fucking day.